when American athletes are on the world stage, it used to unite Americans, something that everyone would start cheering for. But after the U.S. women's soccer team fell in the World Cup over the weekend, well, many Americans are instead cheering their loss.
I'm thrilled they lost. Good. I'm glad you went down. You don't support America, I don't support you.
The vitriol doesn't stop there, by the way. Some posts called them entitled, ungrateful, woke pieces of trash. Others ripped Megan Rapinoe. Others criticized their actions during the national anthem. Donald Trump jumped on the hate train as well, blaming Joe Biden and saying that the country is going to hell. I want to bring in Rachel Nichols, host of Headlines with Rachel Nichols on Showtime, along with CNN political commentator S.E. Cupp. Let me begin with you, Rachel, because there's been lots of vitriol from conservatives around this loss and many people who would be normally one talking about America first. Why do you think this is the reaction towards this team in particular?
I think it's kind of two separate buckets here, right? So I understand the human nature of if there's someone you don't like, if there's someone who has angered you or offended you or you just don't care for them and they stumble in some way, having a little satisfaction over that. Let's be honest, people do that in their daily lives. Politically, people on the left do that too. That is not just the province of the right in this country. But that's very different than what we heard in some of these other comments, which were they lost because they were woke. They lost because of their political beliefs. And that's where I just sort of get to make it make sense, because is the implication that Megan Rapinoe had a penalty kick sail a few inches over the goalpost because she was, I don't know, I'm trying to figure it out. Was she distracted by the fact that 4 years ago she didn't visit Donald Trump in the White House? I mean, what are we saying? How does being woke in the way that the criticism is mean that they were losing a soccer game, a very competitive soccer game against one of the best teams in the world? And the idea of accusing them of being woke or pieces of trash or ungrateful is strange to me in and of itself, only in that the number one issue, the biggest issue for this women's soccer team over and over again is they wanted equal pay for equal work. They, in fact, found it particularly egregious that they were much more successful than the men's team and still were not getting paid as well as them. So if that's the chief thing that they have represented over and over again, and that's the problem that some of these politicians have with them, what are they saying to the women in their own party? I just don't understand it. Again, make it make sense.
Well, Essie, I heard you clear your throat. I know you want to interject. Go for it.
Well, I mean, Rachel's right on the main, and Schadenfreude is ugly on anyone. But the opposition to Megan Rapinoe and the women's soccer team is not over their demands for parity and equal pay. And that is not why Megan Rapinoe kneels during the anthem. She was real clear about why she does that. She does that in protest of American civil rights abuses, along with Colin Kaepernick. She says she stands with him, or rather kneels with him. And she says she does that for people of color and for her LGBTQ community. Now, agree with that or disagree with that. When you become an activist, that, comes with consequences. And it's sometimes that people won't like you. It's sometimes that you'll lose money or contracts. Just look at Colin Kaepernick. So the un-American thing kind of cuts both ways. You could see it as un-American to root for a team to lose. And I certainly hope all of our American teams win overseas. But I think there was a perception that it was pretty un-American in a foreign country to kneel during our anthem. And, I can understand that side of it too, putting the politics completely aside. Just the action, I understand that bothered some people. And listen, I've interviewed dozens of athletes who have taken activist stands on all kinds of issues, and they will all tell you it is a risk. It's one they all made and they were happy to make. And it comes with some great benefits to your community, and you get your message out there, but it comes with risk that, people will not like your message. And, those are consequences.
Rachel, what's your reaction to that? Obviously, there are consequences. There are risks to it. And I wonder what it looks like on the world stage.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Completely. It's just the connection to they lost because of their political beliefs. That's what we've seen a lot of politicians saying today. And that's
makes
the
no
part I don't
sense.
understand. It just doesn't make sense to me. I cover sports for a living. I've never seen anyone lose an athletic contest because of their political beliefs. So I understand the urge to get your base worked up. I understand the idea of I don't like you and I'm glad you lost. And I definitely understand what SC is saying about, hey, if you get into that arena, be prepared to deal with people booing you in the arena. I don't understand that last part of the equation that we've seen, frankly, over and over and over again today, because that's just not how sports works.
Why is there that? Why does this have legs, Essie? Why is that the talking point, even though it's illogical?
Well, it's lazy, and listen, lazy works, right? Especially when it comes to political messaging, right? You make it simple. And so Rachel's totally right. There's a weird non-connection between losing and being woke, but there is this overarching theme in modern conservatism that your wokeness makes you weak. Wokeness is making our military weak. Wokeness is making everyone weak. There's this anti-feminist treatise now in modern conservative circles about hypermasculinity and making men masculine again. So it's an undercurrent that is part of the political conversation in right-wing circles. So I'm not surprised to hear it, but surely when you try to parse it apart and make sense of it, it's a very tenuous connection for sure.
Well, Rachel Nichols, SE Cup, thank you for both trying to make this make sense. I appreciate it so much, everyone.